Like, one of the interesting things about the Nazi regime, and I can talk about the National Socialists all day. I think that it was an inherently unstable government, and this kind of gets to we're talking about, like, like in The Moon is a Harsh Mistress, where they just like the guy suddenly disappears from the story, and Aristotle talks about there are factions that want to control the government, and when he uses the word government, he doesn't mean it like we do. We tend to separate government from society, but he saw the government was basically the whole society governing itself. And he said you can have an oligarchy, and that's when the wealthy are in charge. And when the oligarchs are in charge, they're going to do things that are good for wealthy people. And wealthy people are not unimportant. We didn't have wealthy people, we wouldn't have a society. The people have to build it, especially in those days. If you were wealthy, the way they tax you was, well, you go build an aqueduct now. You go build you go build a new gate. So, but at the other hand, you have the poor, and then there are many more of the poor than there are of the rich, and they want to form a democracy, and they will run things for the good of the poor people and screw over the rich people, which again sounds fun, but like we're discovering in New York State, where they're persecuting rich people. They've lost something like $13 billion worth of wealth in like the last few years, and people just moving from the state. So his idea was you need to have a balance. And he felt that the middle and the middle classes were the best people to mediate between the oligarchic party and the Democratic Party. And his idea was you have a constitution with checks and balances that make sure that everyone gets something they want. Not everybody, then nobody gets everything they want, kind of deal. And you see that playing out. I mean, it's not clear cut. So we do have a lot of Democratic or Republican forms in our government. At the same time, we have a lot of special interest groups, and the two wrestle. I've always said that we don't have a class struggle; we have a class wrestle if it's done properly. Each class, each group pushing for its own, but never pulling a knife, but pushing and this and that and wrestling. And at the end of the day, well, if we got pushed back a few feet, tomorrow we might push them back a few feet. Not we got pushed back a few feet, we'd better just like stick a knife in them. That's
Warriors.
Yeah. and just to put this out there, V, that is Warhammer 40K to a T, exactly what he just said right there.
Warhammer game. I have no idea.
This game, put it to you this way: whenever I said people are disappeared, okay,
wait, hold on, no, yeah,
it's a comment. It's a comment.
I don't just say he does not know about the game we're talking about.
Yeah, he does
never.
Not know.
I'm not a gamer kind of a guy. I played Pong when I was a kid.
But no. If you like to read, then Warhammer 40K is your thing.
Oh, don't.
If you want to talk about lore, I mean, it's better than Lord of the Rings. It's better than Hogwarts.
Okay.
All of the crap. Okay,
it's cool.
Real stuff.
It's cool to sell 40K. It's cool to sell. But hold up, let me finish this on the game. Because this is actually part of what we're talking about here. How many times have you heard in these stories freaking that about the whole thing about erasing witnesses, man?
Mm-hmm.
Man, come on, man. Real life.
No, I mean in
right?
Warhammer,
those whistleblowers disappeared, didn't they? They died.
Like it's a comment. This goes perfectly with it. Go ahead.
Just one point I'm thinking of. Coming from a classical liberal sort of stance, problem that you're seeing and you're increasingly seeing is big government. Mm-hmm. And coming from a classical liberal stance, I would argue for smaller government, localized government, and the Warhammer thing is a good example. You've got a governmental organization that stretches an entire galaxy.
Yeah.
Locally, perhaps approach, but you still got that extreme large governmental body there.
No, when it comes to a lot of that, what I really want to stick to is the whole idea that like these are people who believe that systems survive because they work, not because they're just. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of the theme that I've been wanting to put together when it comes to a lot of the stuff in here, to where when you start hearing about the characters in the stories that I'm doing, freaking you start kind of getting that sense where freaking that's what they're doing. They're building systems that just work. It doesn't have to do with if they're moral or just or anything like that. You know what I mean?
Again,
Well, I've started many arguments with this statement.
There are no such things as a free lunch.
Well,
again,
I always used to say that there is no. What's that?
Moral and just is extremely subjective. I mean, to use a real-world analogy, the entire sort of single-use public toilet thing. Some people would argue
that's an aspect of it, but there's another aspect that's blaringly obvious that people just miss, is that I believe any form of government would work. It would work for everybody if you had zero corruption.
Well, that's kind of like an oxymoron, dude.
Yeah, I know. The whole nature of it is corrupt in itself.
Actually,
that's more hypocrisy than it is.
I'm looking at the in the UK we have got caps on how much any party can spend in a election.
Mm-hmm.
In the US, there is no caps.
Well, that's comparing one.
You like
comparing one system to another doesn't come up with an answer to what we're talking about here. Like, you can't say, okay, we're better because we're not like the United States. That's just justifying your own actions.
Right, and better is a subjective argument.
You know what I'm saying? Like one bad system compared to another bad system doesn't make it a good system. You know what I mean? So
maybe both bad.
Well, I always get the example of people talk about communism or democracy, and people would ask me about which government you think is better? Which one has the less amount of corrupt people working behind the scenes?
From an
Aristotelian, with that, whatever system that is.
From an Aristotelian point of view, that Aristotle's main focus, as opposed to Plato's highest good is unity, and that's communism. Aristotle's highest good is happiness, human happiness. And at least from Aristotle's point of view, you can't have that with too much unity. And I just was handed an alert. I don't know if you guys know who he is, but unfortunately, Bob Weir just died.
Oh, yeah. Bob Weir.
Yeah.
He, I believe Bob Weir is,
it's Grateful Dead.
Yeah, he's a musician, Bob Weir.
Okay, yeah.
Yep.
So.
Yeah, he was part of the Grateful Dead. That I remember him.
Had a great solo career after the band broke up, and somebody just sent me a text just now. So, rest in peace. Hope he has a good rebirth.
Now, he was out of San Francisco too.
Oh, they all were. Those guys were amazing.
Yeah.
Playing a lot of Dead tonight at band practice.
We want to talk about headlines. That would have been an after midnight headline right there.
Yeah.
Well, it's fine because we have it on WWOW Talk. Later.
And John Mama just sent me some music too. Some Dead. Got to get Jolly on here.
I'll tell you one thing too. Now, we went through on this whole thing with government, okay, and I was this is kind of the stuff that I wanted to go through. But the one thing that I wanted to also talk about was like this whole revolution and reproduction thing. That's the one thing that really sticks out to me, with this book,
gee whiz, man, keep it in your pants.
Well, the whole thing of it is like these revolutionists are actually reproducing the same system that they're supposedly against. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, they always become the establishment. You know, they start off, oh, for the revolution. Where's your papers? You know, it's like, hey, what happened to the fun revolution? That's over, comrade. Now we have government.
Where, you know, like the whole dissenter becomes the better administrator kind of thing. You know what I mean? Than what the loyalists were. That, like, they actually do a better job than what the loyalists who were in the former belief system did. They just preached about rebellion, and then when they became the authority, they freaking become better at what the ones previous to them did. It just...
You've also got the whole issue with the there was a guy who wrote a wonderful book, George P. Hansen wrote a book called The Trickster and the Paranormal, and he talked about something sociologist Max Weber wrote about a long time ago. It's often ignored, and he said that all authority, gets back to authority that Mark brought up earlier, all authority originally, ultimately was what he called charismatic authority. Mm-hmm. Small, we like this guy, and you'll see that in any group. Somebody will take the lead in certain things, and it's all, well, we're doing this because we like this and this and that, and then it changes from that. He called it was like basically the magic is taken away and it becomes a bureaucracy. It becomes bureaucratized. And an example could be St. Francis of Assisi. St. Francis was just this guy. He was a kind of a nut, and he preached to birds and bees, and a lot of people really liked him. And the next thing you know, he had a huge following of all these guys, and the Pope was a little upset, but they really weren't making too much trouble, so we'll leave him be, and they're preaching and practicing poverty and stuff. Well, St. Francis dies. Well, there's hundreds and hundreds of these guys now. They need blankets. They need to eat. They need to be organized. And suddenly, you don't have the charismatic leader anymore. Instead, what you've got is a bureaucracy. Now we have order. Well, and you get further and further away from the charismatic kind of organization. It's not really even an organization, except in as much as people will anarchistically kind of tend to settle into like a kind of a group dynamic. I think that's one of the reasons why I like smaller groups. We were talking about that the other night.
You gotta have that homeostasis. You gotta come to an equilibrium.
Yeah, and that's easier to achieve. I mean, I see that in music. I mean, if you're playing in a 3-piece band, it's very easy to stay tight. I'm playing in a 6-piece band now. That's a lot more difficult because you've got to get. It's much harder with larger groups, and there's a point where you just descend into the terrors of representative democracy. And
wait, you're in a 6-piece, original or extra crispy?
Oh my god!
Well, we original music, but we just get together and play a lot of covers and hang out and just muck about. So it's really more of a recreational activity. I'll post some excerpts.
Yeah. And I'm gonna let you guys know too that a lot of this stuff is what I've been actually trying to incorporate into the stories, because like even in quantum the quantum gathering when I've been doing Two Blades, that's why you get a lot of the weird stuff that don't make sense when you're looking at it, but when we read it, it kind of makes sense. Like you know what I mean? Because you're gonna get a lot of this, especially when it comes to the machinery. Mark, when it comes to Juan Valdez in the machine, that's going to get really, really interesting, and I think this is going to fit perfectly in there. But I'm not going to do like even with Warhammer. I want to incorporate it, but I don't want it to be like in the Bible or the core, or in a part of the core mechanics. I want it to be like philosophical influences, like conversations between NPCs or marginal notes, things like that, and like universal justifications. Well, this is the reason why. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I'm not gonna get too deep into that. And the same thing with Two Blades too, because Juan Valdez, I've got to do another one with him. Like that was just amazing. I love that. Whenever I finished doing it, I could not believe how great that was for me. I'm sorry, but like